we had a question, as I understand it already, Amanda, something regarding the nature of inversion of control or dependency injection. Is that right?
We did. Surly Dev was asking if you could give a brief description of what dependency injection is, what it's for, and how he might use it.
Okay, so dependency injection is a really useful facility. If you don't use it, you're basically stuck deliberately newing up various classes and maybe inside other classes. Maybe you start with a factory class and you create a car class within it. You're kind of bound to that class from then on. The alternative is to inject your dependencies. So in this case, if we were going to, let's go back to something you're more familiar with, a logging class, okay? You've got dozens of classes throughout your application that you might have that do various things, and from time to time you'll want them to log what they've done so you can get a diagnostic report out. Now you could, as I say, create a log and have one that's sort of globally available throughout your application. Or alternatively, you could let's bypass this plugin here for the moment, make a new class here, let's call it my invoice class. Okay, and in VB, which is where I'm familiar with, we do not need to name the constructor after that. So for example, in here we could have private my logger as iLogger, and or better yet, as new logger. Perhaps you've got a specific implementation in mind. Okay, and the trouble is that with that is that as soon as you compile that and you send it out and what have you, it's pretty much built into the DLL that you've just created. You've got no choice but to keep things that way. So the alternative is to inject the dependency. So let's say that we have a method here and we're going to log something. And we have a variable type string, and we'll call it message. Okay, it doesn't really matter what the log is going to do at this stage. We'll make that a public method. And if we extract, if we extract an interface from this, we now have iLogger. So now the alternative, as I was saying here, is to create a new constructor perhaps, and have this one take a logger in here. Okay, and now the idea is now that you're passing the thing that you are depending on into the class itself, and you take a reference to it at that point. So now we don't need that, we don't need that. And we have much the same effect. The difference is now that whatever's using your myInvoice class, which I apparently mistyped in the first place, whatever's using it can choose which logger to pass in, and maybe even pass in one that, so you can pass in one that writes to a console, one that writes to a file, the one that writes to a web service. You could send this information any way you wanted, and you can potentially configure this at design time. So that brings us on to container controls. The idea is that you say, right, well, I would like to get my iLogger instance out of a container, and that leaves this container, this sort of magical factory, to use its own decision-making process to decide which one of those to give you. So if you have made, and somewhere in your library you have, a console logger, and a web service logger, and a file logger, they all implement the iLogger interface. So you've got three different possibilities. And maybe you look to a configuration file to decide which one of those is actively used at runtime. So we've taken the dependent class, or the class at which you're dependent on, the logger. We've made many different versions of it. We've given you the opportunity to choose at maybe just at runtime which one of those you want to use. And you don't have to. The interesting thing is that if you tell your container class, this IOC container, about myInvoice class, and whenever you get a myInvoice class out, it will look at the constructor and will say, what other things do I need here? And it will construct them for you. And so you can get this large hierarchy. It's a little tricky to explain without a very specific implementation here. But you ask for your top-level object, and all of its dependencies get built for you and added to the object tree. So it's considerably neater code once it's done, and yeah, that's about the size of it. Hopefully that has made some kind of sense. Are we any other questions, Amanda?
Surly Dev says yes, thank you. So it made some sense.
It did.
But okay, yeah, that was the only question that we had pop up so far.
Okay, cool stuff. Well, I see Mark is actually just signing in. I wonder if that means he's on location, ready to actually join us fairly shortly. In the meantime, a word or two about plugin construction. So today what we're going to do is, well, yeah, let's lead on directly from what we were just saying. So why is IOC interesting for today? The simple fact of the matter is you may have a method that takes, let's say it does do something interesting. Okay, it'd be even better if I could type that properly. And we've got a variable, sorry here, maybe we've got my business object. Wow, I'm really good at the typing today. And we've got this object here. We haven't yet declared it, but imagine that we do declare a class that represents that. So what I believe we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking and making a refactoring, which will allow us to take this object here and extract and create a class, an interface called myBusinessObject, and to have this. So effectively, it's a duplication of. Let me say, get your method there, public object. It'll be the equivalent of going to the type that we're talking about here, the myBusinessObject, the extracting of an interface, and the copying of the usage of that interface down into the declaration here. And now what you've done is you've changed this method here so that it doesn't take a specific instance of the concrete class that you were talking about before. Instead, it will take any version of myBusinessObject. So you're setting up your code ready to be using dependency injection version of control. Okay, so it's this preliminary usage. So now, of course, I can go and create dozens of business objects, all of which implement this particular interface. I can go and make another implementer and call it my very special implementer. Or again, if I was typing things correctly. And I have moved away, haven't I? Must learn to touch type better. Actually, no, there we go. Sorry, I thought I was up here. So there we go. So now we've got a second implementer, which could be just as easily passed to the same method if it needs to be. So that's the general gist anyway. Okay, so the general idea is that we would have a method that would be taking a parameter of some type. Okay, it might be myBusinessObject. Right. And the idea was that we wanted to be a little bit more flexible in which object we were going to be able to pass. So we were going to go to the definition of that type, the myBusinessObject. We were going to extract an interface from it, and then we were going to change the original reference in the parameter so that instead of being myBusinessObject, it would likely be myBusinessObject.
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. So as an example, here we have a method called highlight. We have a car instance that we're passing in, and what I want this plugin to do is I want it to be available on the parameter, and then I want it to declare an interface based on the type of the parameter, and then nothing in here would change, but the interface declaration would basically look like it would have doors and make and model in it, and start with another parameter to it, and also property change. So we would basically, that's what the interface would look like. We're talking about a very method-centric interface that we're talking about building, and so yes, there's a in thinking about this plugin that we're going to build, it's to some degree you could argue that it may be too fine grained, and that we may want to move it out a bit, make it a little broader in scope. And we can talk about how to do that. However, for now, I want to make it. I do want to make it this way, and primarily I want to do this because of I want to facilitate making it easier to test. So instead of having, for example, in this method that requires a car that we have to pass in, I want to be able to pass in an iCar instead. And when we pass in the iCar, I want it to well, it just would work. That's what I want it to do. So I want the refactoring to change this to iCar. I want it to declare iCar, and I want it to also for the car itself, I want it to implement the interface. So those are the things that I want. I want the interface implemented, so I wanted to add iCar here, and then an implementation down there. So the essence of what the plugin is going to do is it's going to go from here to the availability check is going to say, are we on a parameter? Then it's going to go see the type of the parameter. It's going to ask the question, is the type declared in the solution? If it is, then it's going to then add, it's then going to go through the method, find every single reference in the method to car in here. You can see them all lit up here. They're all highlighted up in here. And then it's going to see all those properties and methods and then declare a new interface based on that piece right there. So that's the essence of what it will do. The declaration of that is going to go out down over here. So I'm just noticing that. This is kind of weird. I'm seeing some weird, strange behavior with Captain X reference. I just want to double check that, make sure that we're good with regards to this. I want to make sure. There we go. So this is weird. Yeah, we're getting right in here, and it's kind of getting this strange reaction here. It's like the parser is it's got a problem here. I'm just going to cut this to the clipboard and paste it back in. I was having problems with this build yesterday as well. So, and I do not have a new one. So, all right. So let's do this. We'll deal with that, and if it gets debilitating, I'll restart Visual Studio and see if that has any impact on it. All right. So let's go in and create a new plugin, and we'll call this CR_ replace with interface. It's going to replace the parameter with an interface. So anyway, I planned kind of a series, at least two things and two features that are going to make dependency injection easier. And this is one of them. And then the second one we'll do in a part 2 to this. So let's go to the toolbox and let's grab a, this is going to be a refactoring provider. This is a refactoring. It won't change behavior. It's just going to simply replace an interface with, replace a class with an interface. We'll come in here and we'll say provider name, we'll say replace with interface, and the description replaces the active parameter with an interface with a newly declared interface built to support parameters use inside the method. It's a method scoped. It's definitely scoped within the method. So this RP replace with interface. And so we have a good description. Now we can come over here. We can do a check availability. Let's double click on apply. And let's also double click on prepare preview. So those are the main ones that we're interested in. So now with regards to check availability, what we need to do is we need to do something that looks like this. If, and I'm going to actually write some code here because the reason why is because I need some code that answers the question about the parameter. And I'm going to need it in the check availability, and I'm probably going to need it in prepare preview, and I will need it in apply as well. So I want to write this before and do an extract method, so at least we have that little piece in play. And we can use it so we're not copying code everywhere like we often do when we do edit and continue, because Visual Studio will not allow us to extract a method during the edit and continue. So, so let's go in here. We'll say if EA element, let's do that. Yes, we can do that. Is param. So I can do that. Let me break this into 2 pieces. Put this up here. So then we get to there. Else, I think I want to do something like this. Param equals ea.element.getParent. We can pass in there language element type dot parameter. And so with that, we'll try to, and we have to say as param. Like that. So I think it's going to look like this. This is what the method is going to look like. Let's take that and extract it into its own method. we'll call it, whoops, we need to do one other thing. We need to actually have a, down here, if not null, then we'll come down and we'll just, for now, we'll just say available is equal to true. Okay, so now, the reason I added that extra bit of code is because without this, there's no use of param down at the end, and so the extract method doesn't realize that I need it, that I want to use it afterwards. So now if I do this, I now get a nicely named get param that just takes the event args coming in. Okay. Now that I'm here, I actually I don't have check content availability args everywhere else, but I do have this element that's very common. So let's come in here. We're going to use decompose parameter, and you can see what's going to happen in the preview hint. Right. This is a great refactoring. If you're not finding yourself using this frequently, then I would encourage you to take a look at it because it probably does the things you often want to do. So now we're going to pass an element instead of these check content availability event args. And so now we have something that looks a little bit like this, which is, I think, definitely more interesting. So so the other thing that we could do, well, let's say at a breakpoint right here. So we've got get param that gets us to this point, and then after we get to there, we need to write a little bit more code. I think I'm going to just say let's put a breakpoint. We've got a breakpoint here. Let's just run it. I'm going to save everything and run. And one of the things that we saw yesterday is my startup time for Visual Studio seems to be like very very slow, and I'm not sure why. I haven't had a chance to look into that yet. But I'm starting up a new instance of Visual Studio.
Okay, so whilst that's starting up, Mark, we've got a couple of, well, certainly one question in the chat here on the side.
Right.
Question is, the plugin or the refactoring that we're going to create here, we're going to try and make it smart enough to determine if the class types or the parameter type already implements an interface, and maybe try to use that. Or are we always going to create a new one in this case?
Well, in this case, it's always going to create a new one. Now, that is a great question. I really want to get there. And you'll see how we can get there. So this one I brought in was a different one I started earlier. Let me actually close this down. I see the one that I started up. It's actually starting up on my other monitor. I'll drag it over here in a second. So the answer is I want to go there. I totally want to do that. I want replace with interface to actually say, hey, you know what? I've actually found an interface out there that matches the signature of all the methods in use here, or at the very least is a superset of all the methods that are in use.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have this replace with interface test solution out here. This is the one I opened at the very beginning, and it's got that class called car and the usage that we saw. And okay, here we go. So we're at this point. So I'm going to clear the breakpoint for now and actually just run it. And we'll get to the spot we're interested in. Hold on, I want to close this and close the key one down as well. Okay, so here's replace with interface test right here. All right. So we want it to be available here. So let's move the caret outside of this, go back, set our breakpoint, and then we'll just kind of explore what's going on. So, whoops, we'll run it, move down, shoot. I thought I was going to move right into that spot. Let's go there. There we go. Now we get a break. Okay. So let's see. What is element at this point? It says it's car, and it says it's a type reference expression. So it's on the type, not the actual parameter. But let's look at this right up here inside of the expressions lab and see what we get here. What does this look like? Let's pin that. And so we put the caret here, put the caret here. So here we are. We're in the type reference expression. That's what we are. That's where we are on the other side too as well, right? We put the caret in the type. If we go up one to the parent, that's the actual parameter. So there you can see the class name. It's in CodeRush structural parser param is the name of that class. So that's what we're checking. Is it a param? Well, the answer is no, it's not, because we're down here. Okay, but so we say we fail here, and then we come down and call get parent, and we succeed here. The only thing I'm thinking about though doing, instead of calling get parent, which is potentially time consuming, because if we're not in a parameter and we just call it get parent, what it does, it says, okay, get the parent of this, which in this case is the class, And it asks, are you a parameter? It says no. Well, okay, get the parent of that. Are you a parameter? No, your namespace. So see what's going on is we keep, we're going up. It's probably in reality incredibly fast, right? Because we're just like checking like 3 or 4, there are 3 or 4 checks. But I guess what I'm thinking is from an efficiency standpoint, because I like to program to efficiency, I might do something like this. If element is type reference expression, that's the other condition. Okay, we're either on the parameter or we're on the type reference expression. Then we can get parent, and then in which case I want to come in here and set equal to null. Okay, and so I want to just change the code a little bit like that. Param is assigned to car, so now we are down in here, and so now what we can do is we next need to get the declaration on that particular type. So what we're going to do is we'll come down in here and we will on parameter and we will say CodeRush.source. We'll come down in here and we're going to say CodeRush.source.get called get declaration, and we'll pass in the param as the starting point. So this is the starting point. This means this is the so what start means in the call to get declaration is what is your visibility starting point coming from? Because the declaration for a particular identifier could be in different places if you had like kind of a if you had I was going to say naming collision, but if you had the same name type in 2 different namespaces, for example, which is possible. So we have to tell it the starting point so that we can resolve it. So the starting point, we'll just say it can be anywhere in this file. We'll just say here it's going to be this parameter right here. That just gives it some coordinates to start looking from. And the second piece, the second parameter in there is going to be an identifier, which is going to be the piece that we're looking for, and we can say param type right there. If we look at param type, that should be a type car. There you can see it's a string quote. So that will get us the declaration right there. And we're expecting that to be an I-type element, so we can just typecast that as an I-type element, declare a local for that, and let's just see what we get. And now, there we go. We found the declaration for car. And now that we found the declaration for car, we can now do a check on it. Well, at the very least, we can say, we can check to see if it, we can check to see if it is, well, if it's null, we can get out of here. We can change this also to be, say, if this is null, then we can get out of here like this. And then we can come down and we might want to do a check like this. We want to say if I-type element dot is in reference assembly, or in, what is it, in reference assembly? There it is right there. Yep. If we're in a reference assembly, then we're going to return as well. Okay? Oh, and the other thing we might do too is what if the type of this is an interface itself? So we can do this check too. We can come in and we can say if the I-type element is, and we can just say is it an I interface element? Like that. If it's already an interface, then we can't turn it into an interface. And now at this point, we can come in and we say ea.available equals true, like that. And so that's not a bad start. And let's just put the caret back up here, and we will just kind of step through this. Let's clear this breakpoint here, and we'll step. So there's our, so there we just followed through there, right? You saw it step on this piece, and then down to here. So we've got, there's our parameter, we have it. Here is our declaration car. It's not in a reference assembly, that means we have source code to it. It's not an interface, that means it's a class, or struct, and then now we're down here to EA available is equal to true. And so now, now that we're free of breakpoints, we should see replace with interface. There it is. Okay? So that is step 1. Step 2 is let's do the apply. So let's go ahead and hit enter on there. Oh, it looks like I don't have a breakpoint on the apply. Set the breakpoint. Come back over. But then I should also show that, hey, if we come over actually to here and we see it, we try to hit it, we don't see replace with interface. And the reason why is because that source code is it's not inside. I mean, the declaration of list is in interreference assembly, but here it's available. It's in the sort. It's inside the solution. So we'll choose replace with interface. Okay. So now the question is, what are we going to do here? So I think the first thing we need to do is we still need to go out and get this declaration again. So there'll be some copying of code involved here. In fact, no, we'll just copy the code for now. So we'll copy this piece at least to here and come out here. So we get the pieces we want to work with here. So at this point we have the parameter and the, and you know what, I think I want to change this. I'm going to rename this to declaration.
So theoretically, Mark, is there any, could we maybe remove the check for null in the apply because we know for certain by the time we get here that it can't possibly be null?
You could. You could do this. Absolutely.
Okay.
I like to be, I like to do this instead though. And I don't know, I guess you would argue it either way, but the answer is yes. Theoretically, at this point, well, hold on, that's not entirely true. Here's the situation. This method could be called if somebody asked to apply this refactoring programmatically. I'm not sure. I just don't. Yeah, no. I think check availability would be called in advance. Actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. Check availability will only be called. So let me take a step back. In fact, let's here. Let me write some code right here. So we'll come into CodeRush.refactoring.get. And let's get the rename refactoring, okay? So let's say we have code like this. Okay, we've got code rename refactoring like this. So programmatically, I could come in here and what is there? Execute. There you go. I could call that. Yep. If I call it that, I'm pretty sure we go straight to the apply.
I think you're
right.
And
if I want to set it up, I have to do something like this. And then there's one other thing I have to do. I forget what it is, but it's Skorken has got something out there about this, and it is hold on a second.
Is nested provider.
There you go.
I'm staring at the code you're talking about.
Is it hidden? Is that why we don't see it? Is that what's going on?
I'm honestly not sure. We set it equal to true so that we are allowing ourselves to execute one from within another. And this actually brings me to an interesting point. I'm curious. My instincts for how to write this were to perhaps do almost exactly what you've got there, only not with the rename, but with the extract interface refactoring.
Oh, I see. Call extract interface. The thing is, though, is Murray, I didn't. When I was first thinking about this and writing this, I was thinking I do not want to extract the entire class out. What I'm really thinking about. I'm really thinking about taking
just want the pieces that are being used
for that method because primarily for test cases, right? I want to be able to say, okay, just testing this method. I want to create an interface that just has the pieces used inside of it and pass it in. So that might make you nervous. It does make me a little nervous, right? We do that enough, and we get this super, this plethora of dedicated interfaces. And maybe that doesn't quite make sense. And really, if we start doing this in practice, we would definitely need the second half of this, which was suggested by the question early on, which is, can it go out and find an existing interface in the system, in the solution that has this exact same signature, and just simply use that one instead. And that would be nice. And so the answer is yes, you can, but we need to write code to do that, and we haven't quite done that yet. So it looks like, let me just hit the step button. If I hit step button, that means this all compiles. Okay, so is nested provider is hidden, but it is documented on Skorken's site. So this is the trick for calling this. So this, if it is available, we'll get the call to check availability, which is often needed because a lot of the plugins that we've written are essentially written because expecting check availability to be called first. In fact, I think we've done this in the past, Rory, where we've set up fields and initialized them in check availability, and later in apply we depended on those being already initialized. And I think I remember talking to you after we did this, realizing that it was a design mistake that we made, and I think I talked about how we would fix it in one of the plugins. Do you remember this conversation?
It does sound very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to be a good citizen and you're creating a code provider or a refactoring provider, what I recommend doing is I recommend if you do set anything up inside check availability, you have that set up in another method that you extract it out to, and then in your apply, you check to see if the field has been set up yet. And if it has not been set up, then you go set it up. Same thing with prepare preview. If you do any setup here, make sure that you check and verify. Here, I'll just write the note here what I'm saying. Verify that any setup, if performed in check availability or prepare preview, is still good.
So it's almost worth extracting out that which you're putting into the check availability into a dedicated method, which is what you've partially done there anyway. You've got a get param, which we're reusing, but we could have used a great deal more potentially.
Yeah. So so Roy just sent me this this link right here. This is what we're talking about, is nested provider. So here's what's going on here. In fact, we've got it in a, Skorkin is suggesting putting in a try finally, and it sounds like that's probably a good idea. I have a feeling that we might get into a state issue if we set this to true and never set it to false again. I have a feeling about that. So, so we should maybe do something along these lines here. Cut this to the clipboard, select that, hit the letter F, hit escape, and paste. That's the fast way to do that. So let me do that one more time. So this is like a CodeRush tip, right? Select the piece you want to put in the finally block, like I've done. Cut it to the clipboard. Select the block you now want to wrap in the try finally. Hit the letter F. Hit escape to get inside the finally and paste. It's the fastest way to go from where we were to here, unless of course somebody writes a code provider. So anyway, this is how we call rename. I'm actually going to comment this code out because at the very end of this, and when we declare the interface, I actually kind of want to have that in its renamed state so that we can change the name of the interface. In case you don't want it to be iCar, you might change it to something else, like iBaseCar or iCar interface or whatever you wanted to call it. Cool. Okay, so here's the apply. So we've got get declaration. So we're down to this point right here, and now, whoops. So now at this point we know where car is, and we have the parameter. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to change the parameter. Now we're going to actually have to make changes in two files at least. The file that declares car and the file where we currently are. They may not be the same file. So we need to create a compound action. In fact, over here on
multi-file compound action.
Right, exactly. Multi-file compound action. And here, Skorkin's even totally handed off the code to us in terms of what we have to build, which I'm thankful for. So let's go in there and we'll build that. So we're going to say CodeRush, and we get it out of text buffers. And I feel like we should make this more available in other places. Like I always want to reach for this in the document instead of a text buffer. But at any rate, we'll come in here and we'll say new multi-file compound action, and we can pass in the description. We can actually pass in the description of our, not the description actually, the display name is what we can pass in here.
Yeah.
And then that's good.
So this is the string that's displayed on the undo stack, and indeed the
Yes.
redo stack, should you choose to go the other direction.
Yes. Use CodeRush to declare a new local variable for it. I'm okay with that. And then we need a try finally block. And down in here, we're going to say like close, I think, on it is what we call it. And I think in Skorkin's code, he has something like this. If not null, then we're going to close it out. So fine. So we can do something like that. Now that we have our multi-file compound action, then we want to come in here and we're going to make calls in it on this. Oh no, wait, no, it's not here that we do it. No, it's not. So this is the thing. At first, I was thinking, oh, we're going to add pieces to this, but it's not that. It's just that once we do this, when we wrap this around the close, it's all changes to all text documents from in here are in one undo. Let me just scroll that up so you can see that. It will appear in a single
and that's
undo.
a big feature, really, when you think about it. That's a very big thing to manage if you didn't have a framework around you to help you with it.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I would agree with that because we've done this, talked about this before, but this may look complex. But if you compare this to the way you have to do this in Visual Studio, if you don't have DX Core, it actually turns out that this is a very big deal. So we're intercepting all the changes that you are doing and grouping them into a single action, and then so that they can be undone. So now we can come in and we can say, let's change the parameter type to iCar. So we want to create, let's do this. Let's at least for release here, we'll say new interface name is equal to, and we'll say it's equal to iType element dot name. We'll say I plus that is what we'll do. What were you going somewhere else or what?
I was a stage. No, I was a stage behind you. I was calculating back from param type, but yes, no, you.
So we can do that. You know, we can actually do that from param type as well, because param type has the type name as well. We use it here. We can just use that too. In fact, I'm happy with that as well. We'll come in there and do this. Okay. So there's the new interface name. We wanted to create a new interface, so we can create a new element builder. Like that. We've seen this before. And this is our new element builder. We can say element builder dot add. Do I have an add interface? There it is right there. So we can add the interface. The parent is null because this is going to be the topmost element. And then we'll just pass in new interface name. So that adds our interface. And this is, we'll call this new interface. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to add all of the members that we find inside of the method that we're currently in. So, so let's do that. So it's going to be, we need to do something along these lines. We need to get to the param, and we need to say param.find all references, and I think there's one that takes a scope. And so here's where we can say, let's get the scope, and we'll just say the method, the scope of the method. Well, actually, I don't have a method yet. Let's just type this in here for now, and let's go figure out how we're going to get to the method. So it goes something like this. Param dot get parent method. That's pretty easy.
That's pretty good, yeah.
All right. So now we've got this. I suppose we should maybe come up here and just verify that this is good. Okay, because like I guess it's possible to have a param in a property, for example. And if that were the case, I'm not sure. I would need to research this to make sure this would work. Off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure that that's going to work to be able to replace it with an interface. Although now I'm wondering why wouldn't it? But at the very least, now we're doing this. So one thing that you can do too, that sometimes I do while I'm building this, is I will do a debugger.break call kind of thing if we're at some unexpected point. And then as I'm working with this, I will, you know, if I reach any of these breakpoints, I'll start exploring to see what's going on at that time. So by the way, I think this is a custom template I added, just DB, because I use this a lot. So this is a custom one I created. Okay, so we've got the new interfaces here. We've got this call to find all references. Let's declare local there. We'll call this all references. And then we're going to do a for each on those. Okay, for each element in there. And then what we want to do is we want to, I guess, set a breakpoint. Set a breakpoint right there. Where the heck are we? We're up. Where is execution? Oh, it's down there. Let's set execution back up to the top again and see how we get. Uh-oh. What's our problem? Adding a using namespace. Oh, what did we add? System diagnostics. Oh, that's the DB.
Break. Yeah.
Let's delete that and let's do this. Okay, for now. Drop a marker here so if we ever do stop the other instance of Visual Studio and we regain control over here, that'll serve as a reminder to fix that. And something went wrong. Something unexpected happened. So hold on a second. Let's go back over here. So we didn't get into here. No references found on param is what I guess is happening. Let's set another breakpoint in here and we will just step into it once we get to that point. See what's going on. Okay, so hit the key, replace with interface, start to step through. All references. What's my count? Oh, just tell me the count. Why? We have oh, so but why didn't we hit the breakpoint? I don't understand that. Oh, this could have been one of these edit continue things. Oh, you know what? I bet I didn't. I know what it was, right? I think it was because I tried to set execution here. It said you have errors. I said edit. I fixed it, but it didn't change execution point.
Sure.
And
So
then I
you'd
just
already
hit run.
passed that point.
That's why this happened. Okay. So now we're in all the references. So let me see if I can find an example of this in this code that we can look at. Here we go. So the idea is this. It's like what we just did was this. We said, okay, we're on element. Now give me all the references. And what we're really looking for is a reference that actually looks like this, or something that's a property kind of access. This we don't care about. This we don't care about. This we don't care about. Those kinds of things. We're just looking for something that's got this kind of access. So let's look at the expressions lab and just take a look at see what this looks like. All right. So here it's an element reference expression. If we go up one, it's a method reference expression. Okay. Here it's just an element reference expression. We go up one, and it's a type check. Okay. So what we're really looking for is method reference expression. That's one of the things that we're doing, and then the other one is a property access as well. Let me just write some property access code in here. Let's go right up here, and I'm going to say element dot. Give me a property in here. There we go. There it declares identifier, and we'll just declare quick local on that, and then we'll put the caret over here. Look to the left, and we have element reference expression, and above that is another element reference expression. So that's what's going on there. Okay. So we want to go to the parent is one of the things we want to do. Once we get to the parent, let's figure out what we do then. All right. So here we go. So element dot parent, and we'll just call this the parent element, I guess is what we'll call this, like that. And now what I want to do on this is I want to go in and I want to say call get declaration on it. And what this is going to do is if it's something that is declared, we'll call this member declaration. If it's something that's declared, it'll get me something real back from here. But if it's not, if it's like a type check or something along those lines, we'll get null back from this piece. So let's clear this off and let's just see what happens. So we're going to say step there. There's the parent element. Whoops, I wanted to do an if not null. If not null, then we'll do this. Okay, so we definitely are not null. Let's execute this line of code and see what member declaration looks like. It's null. That may be okay because, yeah, there you go. You can see the parent element is a light relational operation expression. A relational operation is this, a comparison between two pieces. That's totally fine. We're okay with that. What I want to do, though, is I want to say if not null, then I want to come down in here and I want to set another breakpoint right here, and let's just get to there. So let's keep running. We hit run. There we go. We're at it. So now we found doors. So doors is a property. There you go. You can see it right there. That it is a property. Now, we have the interface. That's this piece right here, right? We have our element builder. Now we can come down in here and we can say element builder dot add, and I think we can just say add node for a child node to this. The parent is going to be our new interface. And the element that we're going to add, the child, is going to be the member declaration, but I'm going to clone it. And the reason I'm cloning it is because if I don't clone it, I have to clone it as a language element, like that. Okay, and so that cloning is in fact, let's do this cloned member like that, and then we can now come down here and say if not null. We can just do a double check on that to make sure that that's all okay. And then once we do that, we can then add it. Oh, the other thing we might want to do, actually, is not add it here. And the reason why, let's do this instead. Let's create a list of all the members that we've found, because the reason why is because we might have multiple elements out there, multiple declarations out there. So let's do outside here, let's do this. We want a new list of, and I just copied this to the clipboard, elements. And these are going to call this the members found. The reason why, Roy, is if I don't want to add doors twice if it shows up twice in the code.
Gotcha.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm.
So you're going to get a distinct list rather than just a list of every reference.
Right. Exactly. I want
a distinct list afterwards.
Right. So what I want now, now I want to do is I want to say if the members found contains the cloned member. Wait. Ooh. I can't clone
careful.
it. I can't clone it.
You got to test the original and then add a clone.
Yeah. I got to put this code outside is what I have to do. So if it does not contain it, then I'm going to say members found dot add, and then I'm going to pass in the member declaration, like that.
Okay.
And then we're going to take all of this outside our for each loop. There's our for each right there. Okay.
So now we're going to draw attention to something here quickly. The members found is just a standard list, right? Okay, a generic list.
Yes.
And that it is safe to add our items to that, even the original ones, because there's no inherent logic within a standard list that will remove it from elsewhere in the tree, which is what we were worried about before.
The danger is in calls to add node and add detail node. This is the trick, right? If you've got a call to add node or add detail node, in other words, you're rebuilding structure, reparenting, what that will do is it'll take the actual member declaration and tell it that the parent is elsewhere. That in itself won't change the code, okay? However, it can mess up the state of the parser. The parser is an incremental parser, so we want to make sure we avoid that from happening. We want to prevent that from happening. Okay? So now what's going to happen is we're only adding unique members inside here. So if members found contains the member declaration. If it doesn't contain it, then we're going to add it. So we only have unique entries.
Another thing to point out is that we don't make any distinction between a method as it exists in a class and a method as it exists in an interface, except when the code is generated itself. So we're making a clone of an entire method or an entire whatever and adding it to an interface where it isn't strictly legal to have it. But that method has the same thing that the interface needs, which is the full signature of that method. And only that part of the method will be looked at and will be rendered when time comes to generate the code.
Exactly. I'm maybe making an extra long comment here, but I'll do it anyway. Same method property in the interface declaration. Yeah, good point. Good point, Rory. We are kind of cheating is what we're kind of doing. We're cloning the entire member right here. Wait, this has got to be, now we need the, so members found, we need a for each down here on that. So for each here, and this is going to be I element, and we'll call this element again. For each element inside members found, we're going to say, we're going to clone that element. This is really bugging me, by the way, in case it's not bugging you. I just thought I'd say that it's bugging me, this thing out here. So we're going to say, we're going to grab the element, we're going to clone it, we're going to have a clone member, we're going to add it to the interface, is what we're going to do. So now, let's just step through and see how we're doing. I'm going to ooh, null ref. My bad. We got a null ref right here. We're down in the finally block. You know why, Roy? I'm sure.
Why is that then?
Well, because I declared this and I forgot to put the caret back up to initialize, right? I mean to say let's change this. So okay, it got me.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and we'll just try one more time. That's okay. What's cool is Visual Studio doesn't crash because CodeRush protects against mistakes like that in plugins. So run. I'm gonna run to my breakpoint, and now we should be good. Step, step, step. There we've added one. We've just added doors. Let's just set a breakpoint here and see what else we collect. What are we getting now? Make. So this is a property, the make of the car. That's a string property. Now the model, another string property. Property changed. That's the event. I'm hitting run. Now we're at void start. That's the start. The start method that takes no parameters, and there's the start method that takes a single bool. Oh shoot! I just hit run again. And all right, one more time. I hit run without a breakpoint afterwards. So replace with interface, run, clear this breakpoint. So now we know it's working here. Let's watch and make sure this is working. Okay, so we come down in here, and now we're going to say clone member. Let's do an if not null. And then we come down in here. We're going to add doors, and I want to set a breakpoint. I guess what I want to do now at this point is I want to say, once we get out of here, I want to say do something like this. CodeRush. Well, actually, we already have the element builder. We can say element builder dot generate code, and let's just do this to see what we get. New code, new interface, declaration, like that. We'll set a breakpoint right here to see what that value is. Run, and now, oops, using the trick Rory taught me, click that little button there, and this is what we get.
Nice.
Looks good to me, right? iCar, all of this, looks good. Okay, so that's the building and the interface, and we're only using, see, this isn't just everything in car, it's only the pieces used in the method, which could be useful. And let's not forget that other question that came at the very beginning. The question came at the beginning, which is, would we, if this existed already, would we be able to find it? And the answer is yes, we could write code to do it. It's not too hard, right? It's not too hard. We can do that. I'll show you how we would start that, but we're not going to have time to do it in the session. So there's iCar. Now we need to stick that in the code somewhere. I want to put it right after the location where car is itself. And I think we have a reference to the car declarations here. There it is right there. So this is the car declaration. So now at this point, we can say, do something like this. I think declaration dot files. No, isn't there a first file in here? There it is, first file. So first file dot name. Then I want to go into CodeRush dot documents dot get text document and pass in that file name and see if we get something back. We'll call this the original types text document is what I'll call this. If that's not null, then I'm going to come in here. Let's set a breakpoint here, put caret up here. Actually, I don't need a breakpoint. I'm just going to step through it. Step, and we got something real. So we have a text document now. We know where the car is. And so now what we want to do is we want to go into original type text document dot insert text, not lines, insert text. And it's going to take a source point. And so what we can do is we can say, that's the declaration. Remember, that's the declaration where it lives, right? That's what we're working with right now, the car, right? So we see declaration dot range, ranges. What do I have? Do I have a first range in here? I'm going to use first range instead. First range dot end. That's where we're going to insert it. And the text we're going to insert is the new interface declaration. And I want to just put in, I want to do an ENL here for environment new line at the very beginning. So we just put a space at the end of the piece above. So that means I have to come back up here. And we go step, 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 step. And now we've just inserted the text. I think I'm going to run just so we can look at that and make sure it's exactly what we're expecting. And then we'll undo, and we'll take care of the other pieces. Okay? So here's the run right now. And now if we drill into car, we scroll down, we should see there's iCar right there. It's not indented. It needs to be formatted. So we'll need to make that call to format it so it indents it correctly. If I hit Control-KD now, that's what I'm talking about. That's where we want it to be. Yeah. The thing is that our code generator doesn't have formatting instructions, so it doesn't format the text the way you want it to be. So we have to make a call to format that piece. But that's the essence of part one's out of the way. Again, I want to remind everybody what Rory said. It's very powerful, right? We are here cloning real elements with method bodies. We're cloning the whole thing. We're adding them to the interface, and when the code gen comes, time to generate, it doesn't care about what's inside of it. There are also options, and I'm not familiar with this. There may be more efficient ways to do this. There are options here, element clone options, which may allow us to get this without all of the child body pieces. But I don't want to explore that right now just due to time. But I think there's a way to clone more efficiently if we create our own element clone options.
Also useful to note here is that we're not having to distinguish between a method or a property or indeed a field. Okay, it's just the members. Okay, so all three are catered to. All three will have specific interface pieces built for you, and without any specific need to distinguish or understand which of these three may be present.
Actually, you know what? You just brought up some important thing. We actually can't.
That was the field.
The field. We're going to have to do that. Add that to the check availability. Let me just do this right here. Oh, we're not at a place where I can add code here. Let me do this. I'm going to set up, just put a marker there. Let's undo this, and we will come back, and then let's go. Rory just texted me, if you feel like some pain, ask me if there are any VB.NET complications. Hey, Rory.
Yeah?
Just off the top of my head, I have this question. Are there any VB.NET complications?
There's just one or two, yeah. VB.NET doesn't have implicit interface implementation, which means that this interface that you've created in VB has to reference public members. It cannot use private or lower level ones, which isn't normally a problem, except that you may be inside of a car class when you do it. You might have a car class method that takes an instance of car, which means that it could call its own private methods.
All right. I hate you, Roy. Have I mentioned that lately? All right. So
it's a little thing.
So you're saying it's a little thing. So yes, good point. Here, doors is I've just made doors internal. So I'm still working in C# land, and I'm going to actually hand this off to you, Rory, and have you fix all the bugs that fix it, the stuff for VB. But I am going to show the problem over here. Now I've got internal, but I need it to be public if it's going to implement iCar. Also, we need to add the code to implement this, right? Let's do this let's fix these things a piece at a time. So whoops, I'm hitting the wrong key, sorry. So let's go back over to here. Let's go in. We'll replace with interface one more time. Let's clear this breakpoint. We don't need to stop here anymore. Let's do this. We just added the interface to it. Let's go in and say, all right, here's where we've added the interface. Let's go in. There's something in here called CodeRush.source.implement interface. And it's now asking for a type declaration. So we're going to say declaration. I think we're going to have to typecast it as a type declaration. So I think we're going to have to do, because I think it's an I type declaration, if I'm remembering correctly. What is that? It's an I type element. So it should still come out as a type declaration. I will do an introduce local here in a second on that, and we'll verify that. And what is the second part of this? This is the new interface. Okay, so I can say, what did I have here? This was an interface right there. It's the new interface. Let's pass that in. So now we are going to call implement interface on this, and let's see how that works. Let's just run it. I'm going to just run to here and run. Okay, interesting. So there's this weird thing happening here, and it didn't put it in the right spot. We did get iCar. So undo. I have a hunch about this. Let's try something different. Let's do this. And we got to get to a breakpoint. Sorry, hold on. I'm wondering if it's a parser-related kind of thing. Let's go in here, implement interface, declaration, decide that's car. That's exactly what we want to do. So let's try this instead and see what happens. Run. Oh, come on. Why are you putting it there? That's the weirdest thing. That should totally be putting it over in the other spot. I am at this point confused as to why that's sticking it there. That totally does not make sense at all to me. Is it? I wonder. Let's try this. Maybe it. You know what? I'm betting that this call. In fact, I actually think I know exactly what's happening. This I would call. This looks to me like a bug. Set a breakpoint here. I bet I know exactly. Look at what's happening. When we do this, it's putting it here, I think, right? Let's do it one more time and just watch it.
So it's automatically using the active text document rather than the specific.
It's assuming, yes, exactly. So it's putting it here. Line 9, character 43. Just copy that to the clipboard and come over here to car and go to line 9, character 43. Look at that. Okay, yeah. So, but, okay, not a big deal. We'll just activate this file. What'd you say, Roy?
Nothing, no.
Okay, all right. So not a big deal, but we'll have to activate the other file. So let's go in here. We're going to say, okay, I got breakpoint set. Let's come in one more time and replace the interface. Now we're going to come in here and we're going to say we have the file, that first file. We have Hold on a second. I may be in trouble because I'm clicking and not seeing the cursor. I've seen this before. Yeah, I hate it when this happens. I think I'm going to have to shut. There it is. There's the dialog. Ugh, I hate you. Okay, so yeah, I can't do anything in this. So this happens when it's kind of a lockup between the two versions of it. So I have to, at this point, bring up, I have to bring up Task Manager and kill the magic one. I have to somehow figure out the right one, and I know there's another version of Task Manager that should be better than this, but I'm going to guess it's the one with the least amount of memory usage in it. That's my guess in that process. See if that kills it. Get the right one. I got the right one. Okay. All right. So okay. So there's so we got to run it one more time. Now that we're actually here, though, let's clean up some of the stuff that we've done so far. I think there's really only one piece that I wanted to clean up, which was this one right here, and then we'll run it again. How are you doing, Rory?
I'm doing good, man. I'm following along here. I think it's a particularly interesting implementation. I think this is. I know Surly Dev is watching as well, and he's particularly happy with some of these things because they're addressing some points that he's looking at with his own plugins as well. So
good.
This is good.
Yeah, I apologize that I came in late. I'm just like, it's killing me still. I'm like that, you know. All right. So by the way, that lockup thing, I've noticed that it happens when I switch from the instance I'm debugging in back over to the one I'm running from and very quickly do something. I don't know what it is. Like I do that, and then all of a sudden Visual Studio like somehow thinks that, you know, I don't know. I'm speculating at this point, but that seems to be related to the lockup. It's as if the one that we're debugging is waiting for something, and we can't get back over into this one until that thing happens. It seems to be related to that. At any rate, let's come in here, and again we will replace with interface. And so now what I want to do is activate it. Oh, I should have gone a little faster. This thing's going to bug me being in here the whole time. But we'll come in here. We're going to say now. We're going to say. Do we have this?
So we're going to deliberately make the second document the active document so that when we call the implement interface, it will be in the right place and everything will be fine.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
So here, text document dot activate. But what if it's not open? File activate. Activate code view is not available. It is opened. I'm going to guess that this is going to work.
Yeah.
The file name we'll pass in. Again, we'll say declaration.firstfile.name.
Now that's actually going to have a secondary effect as well. I was looking at a little piece of code you wrote earlier where you cast from an iType element back to a type declaration saying, yeah, this will work. Without the activate, there may, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't necessarily know, I've got a full grasp on this. We were saying that only the active document, or certainly the documents that have been opened, will have been rehydrated, so to speak, from I elements back to their full versions, which is what we're potentially causing to happen here.
Yeah, so what we need to do...
There was an outside chance that the second document hadn't already been opened, and that cast earlier would have failed.
Right, and so so it looks like what we need to do is this. Yeah, this is, I think, the sequence. So we are going to get the text document, then we're going to call. Well, we actually need to do a file activate on it. The get text document. Actually, we need to do this too. We need to activate it before we call a get to it, because if it's not out there, I don't think you can get a text document to it if it's not open. Okay. So we have to open it. We also kind of want to open it anyway because I want to show you the code we're creating and let you work there, and then we'll come back as well, which means we need to drop a marker, which I forgot to do as well. So let's come in here, good time to drop the marker, CodeRush.markers.drop, and we'll say marker style.transient. So we'll stick a transient marker right here. So drop the marker, we'll activate that file, we'll get the text document, we're going to then call implement interface on it, see if that now puts it in the right spot. Then we're going to come in here and do insert text, and let's run it. And so here we go. We are. I guess I'm just running it now. I don't need to actually step through the code. So here's the run. And now we have iCar in the right spot.
There we go.
Notice car is now activated. The caret is here because that's where it was last time. So let's undo and let's close and let's verify that it still works. So we're going to now come in here and we'll say place with interface and run. And now good. We've opened the file and we're here. Now the caret's at the very top. What I want is the caret to be here. We still need to format. I forgot to do that. But I want the caret down here. So how are we going to do that? Well, one of the cool things that we can do is here. Let's set a breakpoint here. Let's undo and come back over here and show. And we've got these markers that we're dropping. So marker dropping is working, right? You see the evidence of that. I just collected both of them. Replace with interface. Let's clear this breakpoint here. Run. We're good here. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to show you something else that I think you will find interesting. Okay. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to call this the target point. This is where we're going to insert the new declaration. I'm going to put it here. Then I'm going to call a method on it. What is it? Oh, I thought it was bind to source is what it was. What is that piece? Anything that says bind on target point? Oh, hold on, I see the problem. My bad.
Needs to be a source point, is it? Oh,
Why are we at a text point here? Yeah, I want it to be a source point is what I want it to be. So let's do this. Source point, and how do I get to a source point on here? I can just do probably nothing helpful. I'm going to have to grab it one piece at a time, I think I'm going to have to do. So new source point, and then end.line. There may be a better, faster way to do this, but I'm not exploring now because of the time we have. So now I'm going to have target point here, insert text, does take a source point, so that's all good. But now I'm going to call on this. Why do I look at this? It's acting like it doesn't understand the code, like there's a syntax error somewhere. It's not indenting this. What have I done wrong? I don't see any problems on screen, but it's definitely not lining this up. Let me just hit Control-KD. Let's Control-KD. Something's weird. Something's weird. Anyway, all right, let's do it now. So let's say bind to code. Is this going to do it for me? Edit point factory. Oh, come on. I need to remember exactly how to do this. What's my hold on, I got to go look at my notes on the other screen. Let's see if I can find this.
Well, whilst you do, let me just answer a question in the chat here. Surly Dev's asking what a transient marker is. The simple distinction is that the two main types of marker, a transient marker and a hard marker. The transient one's sometimes called a soft marker. The soft marker, the transient marker, is one that will effectively evaporate if you edit anything on the line that it sits on, so it'll disappear. Those are the blue ones. The red ones are, by contrast, the hard markers will maintain their location even if you edit the text on that particular line. Okay, so it's purely a user interface effect.
I'm gonna try something else too. I just want to see if we have implicit conversion here on this, and just see if this works. So I'm going to hit F10 here to step over this and see if we do. Well, I hit F11, it looks like. Sorry about that. F10. We do. So we have got the implicit conversion from a text point over to source point, which makes that easier. Then bind to code. Now this thing takes something mysterious like it's calling an edit point factory. Guess what? A text document is an edit point factory. So now what we're doing is we're saying, take this point and bind it to the document. Bind it. And the reason I want to bind it is because I'm about to do something that might change the location of this target point, right? And in other words, if you say, like for example here, if we look at this code, we're at line 131, column 5, or character 5, right there. If I were to insert like 100 lines of code here, this insertion point would be pointing at the wrong spot. But if I wanted to move based on any insertions that come in there, I call bind to code on it, like this. And that will keep this thing valuable just in case this call to implement interface adds a line, which I think in VB it might. So I'm actually helping you out a bit, Rory. In C# it just adds it to the end of the line, but in other languages it might change it. And so this allows us to take advantage of this language-independent way, this language-independent call to implement it, to add an interface implementation to an existing class, right? Takes advantage of that, and also allows us to calculate the target point and then use it a little later. And then once we're done on this, we can come down in here and we can say target point dot remove binding on it. And that gets rid of that.
I'm guessing that this is the same mechanism that's used inside of the queue replace and the queue insert logic, so that when we add various things in that manner, that their locations are maintained even though earlier insertions may have moved the text?
I don't think so, actually, Rory. I think
really?
Yes, I think that what happens there, because I actually wrote this code a long time ago, and unless it's changed, what happens there is it simply sorts the changes in reverse order and applies them from the end of the file to the front. Is all it's doing for you there. So let's come in here. We actually need to widen that scope a bit, bring that up there. Okay. All right. So there we go. Now we have our target point. We have this piece right here. Let's move this back up here. Let's move the execution up to this line of code right here, and then we will we'll run it. And now I'm hoping, hoping that everything looks good now in the code with the exception of indenting. We have to do that, and that looks good to me. Okay, so we need to indent it. The other thing is oh, how do we put the caret around here? Well, this is the cool thing. So let's do this. We'll undo, and we'll handle the caret part next. So, interface declaration. Let's look at this. Let's get to, where does this thing start? Oh, it's there when we call generate code. Let's set a breakpoint. I really want to get to a point where we are here. And let's set a breakpoint, and we'll make some changes at this point. So we'll come back over here, close this file, come over here. There's our marker. Replace with interface, and now we're here. Interface name is iCar. What if we go into the options, we bring up the templates page, and we were to change this? I'm just going to use this as a we were to change this with something that looks like this. Let's grab caret and block anchor and cut those to the clipboard, cancel, and now we were to change it to something that looks like this. Caret plus interface name plus block anchor in quotes. Okay, so now what happens is we're creating a new interface that actually has pieces embedded into it. This should all still work. Okay, and so now what happens is let's step through, or let's get down to, here's our new interface. That's where we're adding elements. Here's where we're getting the code. Is there anything else? Implement interface. So here is where we need to, where are we generating code, by the way? We're generating code. I don't see where we're generating code. Well, we've got breakpoints here at the key spot, so I'm going to run. All right, so now where is the code generation? You know what? I'm just going to run it, and let's see what the code looks like. There's the generate code call right there. I want to move this up here. I want to move it here just to get that code. I'm going to execute this line of code because I want, where's my, oh, come on, where are you? It's off the screen, sorry. There we go. All right, that's what I want. Okay?
Okay.
You with me so far?
I am. I think Surly Dev's with you as well.
All right, good.
I think he's done this stuff just recently, so he's dead excited.
Good. However, here we are in a tricky spot because the new interface wait, not there, hold on. It's this one. Now, in this line, so we have the code we generated. It looks good. We're going to insert that later. But here, we're actually going to put in the interface and look at the name. That means we're going to put the caret and block anchor up here at the top as well. And so what we want to do here is we want to say new interface.name equals, and we kind of want to reassign it, I think. It's equal to, where's that bit of code we had? Just new interface name. So we're just going to change the name of that new interface before we code pass it here. So let's do that. Let's set execution here. Come on, there we go. And step over it. And now the new interface name is that. The new interface looks much better. And now, if we don't want to call insert text though anymore. We now want to call expand text instead. Expand text has the same parameters: target point, a source point, and the text we want to expand. This will take something that looks like a template, right? Which is what we had, right? Remember that you can see it on the very left of the screen right there. So very left on this line, caret and block anchor. It'll take that and actually position the caret and block anchor. So let's run it now, and hopefully we should be in the right spot. Run. Have it selected. Come on. There. Good. See it down the bottom?
Yep.
Also, check it out what expand text did for us. It indented. It formats automatically for us. So not bad. We'll take it. Okay? So now we're selected. We still need what? We need to do what? We need to change this type to iCar. So we haven't done that change yet. Yep. And I also want to scroll the screen up. I don't like this. I want to show the dev, right? I want to show the dev what the code we've added, so the dev can make changes here if the dev wants to, and then we can hit escape to get back like that. Sure. Okay. All right. So let's undo again. Let's see where we want our breakpoint to be next. So I think the next thing to do is let's change. Let's do it maybe before we drop a marker. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll. Yeah, let's drop a marker first. Right after we drop the marker, we'll make the change in the current document, and then that'll change the type, the parameter type, and then we will we'll do the scrolling as well, all in the same step. So we'll do both of those things. So come in here again, replace with interface. We don't need a breakpoint here anymore. We can clear that. And so here's the drop. We're dropping the marker, and so now what we want to do is we want to say CodeRush.documents. Actually, it's probably in the event args, I bet, at this time. Active text document? No. Text document, there it is right there. Okay. So text document dot, we want to do a call to replace text, and whoops, not replace text, just replace. So replace text searches for a pattern or of text and replaces it, and replace by itself looks for a source range. And so now what we want to do is get the range of that type for the parameter, which is, I think it's in param. Let's see what we got here. Param dot type range. Type range. So that's the range of the type. That's the text we're going to replace. And the new code is going to be the interface name. And we want the interface name just by itself, which is, where do we have it? The new interface name, which is, what is that? iCar. Sweet. Is it really just iCar at this point? Do we? Yes. Okay, cool. So that's just going to be iCar. So that takes care of, this is, wait, what's wrong here? What is it not like here? Oh, there's one other thing we need. This is a helper piece. This is just the operation, and I'm going to pass in string.empty. This is what would happen in the undo stack. But because this is happening inside of this try finally for the new multi-file compound action, what that means is we're good to go. This doesn't matter what we put here. It's not going to show up as text on the undo stack. There's only going to be one entry there. So we've now replaced that. Then the last thing we have to do is scroll down. So, well, actually not the last thing. I want to do a rename afterwards. But let's scroll down. So to scroll down, let's see. We're expanding the text here. We're removing the binding. I guess we can do it right here. So we want to go into the original type text document, get the text view. What is it? The active text view. Active view. There it is right there. So we get the active view dot, what is it? Top line? How do we do this? That's only a getter. We need a setter on this. Of course, there's a set top line as well. I think there's something else for scrolling, and I think it's, hold on. There. Vertical scroll position. Okay? So we're going to do vertical scroll position, and we're going to say that's equal to, we're just going to say that's equal to itself plus, and we're going to grab, do we have the text, the new interface declaration? There it is right there. Where is it? Oh, it's in here though. Let's put it here then instead. So do this. Plus the new interface declaration, whoops, dot, split, and look for carriage returns on that. Like that. And then dot length.
Mark, your sound and indeed the video seems to have gone for a...
More. Oh, you know what? Let's just do it now. So, what'd you say, Rory?
I think maybe perhaps repeat the last 20 seconds or so because we had a small audio glitch.
Sure.
And indeed the video hasn't yet caught up
okay, no
either.
problem. Oh, okay. So right now I've got CodeRush markers drop highlighted in yellow in the middle of the screen.
That is just caught up. It's just caught up this second, yes.
Okay. And audio is okay now?
Audio is good, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'll repeat that. So what did we do? We said eie.textDocument.replace, we're passing in param type range, and the new interface name, string empty. That's what we're putting in here. This is going to do the replace that car reference with iCar inside the method that we're at. That's step one. That's the change one we did. Change two is we're going to figure out the lines we need to scroll down, and we're doing that by just grabbing the text that we're generating here, this new interface declaration. By the way, this thing is the shadow right here. We came up, we broke execution before the hint was drawn, so the shadow was drawn and the hint needed to be drawn afterwards. That's what's going on there, if you're wondering. So here's our new interface declaration. We're calling split on carriage return, just to see how many lines are in it to get the line count. There may be an easier way to do that, but this is how I'm doing it now. So this is how many lines we need to scroll down. I'm saying vertical scroll position plus equals lines to scroll down. But then I was thinking, well, what if lines to scroll down is greater than the line count? Is it line count? Visible line count. If that's the case, then I'm just going to copy that and paste it. Then I'm going to set it equal to that -1. So only scroll. In other words, if the interface is so big that it doesn't fit on screen, I don't want to lose the top part of it. I want to make sure that's still on screen. So that's what's going on there. So this is simply scroll the new code into view. That's what that is.
Yep.
Right? So let's run there. How are we doing on?
You just disappeared there, Mark. Cannot hear you.
Replace with interface, run, and
Sorry,
now
Mark,
it's scrolled up. Remember
there.
before it was down at the bottom?
Last thing we heard was, how are we doing on?
Okay, so I was just asking, how are we doing on time? Are folks that are watching this that want me to keep going, or are we feeling like I should wrap it up? Because I'm totally happy to wrap it up and just submit final version of the code, because we've not done the preview hinting yet, and we've not done anything with doors. Right now, I think if we compile, here, let's just show this. This has changed, right? However, you know what? Looks like our transient marker was lost too. Looks like we need to drop the marker after. We need to move that marker drop to after we make the change to the code. Because I think what happens is we're dropping the marker, and then we're calling replace. How's audio? Are you okay, Rory? Can you hear me?
Audio's good now, yeah. Can indeed.
Audio's good now. Okay. So let me undo one more time. I just want to get that marker back. And so the question to the attendees out there is, you want to should I keep going? Do you want me to just say, okay, we're good enough? I suppose people can drop out. I guess I'll keep going, Rory. Are you okay?
There's at least one guy in there who's desperate for you to keep going. He's very, very keen to see preview hinting, for example.
All right, so we'll do preview hinting on this. So what I'm suggesting now is I'm saying let's replace first, and then we'll drop a marker here. Because I think what's happening is because the marker is transient, then we make a change to the code, the marker gets picked up. I think that's why it was disappearing here. So I'm now going to execute this first, then run, just verify that now we have a marker in place. I hit escape. Now, happy with that. Really happy with that. Happy with this. So let's get the rename up so this thing rename is working. And I think that code we commented out at the beginning that we wrote could actually do it for us. So let's find that code. Where's that code? Here it is. So we've got to get to a breakpoint again. Sorry. Let's go back over here. We're going to come in, execute it one more time. Replace with interface. Find that code. There's the drop. We're just going to get to the end of this, remove the binding, paste that in, uncomment it. By the way, I showed this yesterday, but // all you need to do to comment or uncomment blocks of code. All right, so now we've got the thing selected. The rename should work, I think. Let's just run it and see if this code works. It does not. Ugh. I'll need to figure out why it doesn't work. Rename is available there, so let's undo this a second. Let's go back one more time. Let's see if we can make this
I think, Mark, there's a CodeRush smart tags update context. Because we've been moving our caret around, we have to reevaluate whether or not it's actually available.
You are a smart co-host. Let's do it. Replace with interface. You're absolutely right. It's slightly unintuitive, and I apologize for it being unintuitive. But
it's actually very performant, though. Because if we were reevaluating the context for every single step here, then we would be adding an awful lot of work to the CPU.
What is the call, Rory? It is...
CodeRush.smarttags.updateContext. When last I checked.
I'm only seeing update code fix
I
context.
think it may not be visible.
Seriously? You know, I hate it when we do this. Can I just say that? Can you search? Yeah, look at that. It's totally invisible. Can you search for Skorkin site and see what the heck's going on here? See if he's got this?
Yeah, he does. He does. On the same link we had earlier.
Yeah, he's got this documented. So at least it's documented. Skorkin, why? Seriously. Okay, so message has been just sent to Alex Skorkin, who's one of our lead devs. Let's make this visible. Visible. All right. So you know, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to so let's see. I think I just added that line of code. Let's make sure it runs. That the execution is on it. Now that didn't work, but I almost want to say, let me undo one more time and try one more time. Replace with interface and run, just in case. There. Now we've got the rename. I can tab, tab, tab.
Now
right?
we do have an edge case at the moment where that will cause issues. Very minor.
Oh, tell me what it is.
Well, at the moment we're presuming that there isn't an iCar interface already and that we're making a new one every time. If an existing one was in place, we would be renaming that as well. Perhaps there'd be some overlap.
Beautiful point. So yeah, we would need to, need a way.
That's okay, because we were suggesting that an extension to this would be to check that whether that existed or not anyway.
Right.
And perhaps not to do this in that case, or perhaps choose a better name. So part 2 perhaps?
Part 2. We'll do part 2 on that. Also, I think we have something, and this is a question for Alex Skorkin. Alex, do we I'm almost positive we have methods to say, like, get unique name. There's something out there, and if you know it, just put it in my IM window right now, or pass it over to Rory, and Rory can tell me.
Does ring a bell
I think we have something that says, here's my base name, I want to call it iCar, and now you tell me if this collides with anything. And then CodeRush will come back and say, here's the name we would give you instead. And so because we do this all over the place, and we need this code. So I'm already hearing like IM beeps coming in, so I think that somebody may be sending it. He's passing me name collision.get unique name inside scope. Interesting. So let's look at that, because that may be useful. Let's go back over into here, and we will, let's see, we hit escape. No, let's come in here. Oh, I need to show you this, how to pop that up and make it public. I haven't shown you that yet, and I haven't shown preview hinting. I'll show preview hinting really quickly, and then we'll try to solve that last problem. Let's go in here one more time, just so we can come in here, look at the code. Skorkin says it's this. It is name collision. Let's see if we can find that. Name collision, there it is right there. Dot get unique name inside scope. Sweet. So here we go. That's your solution to the problem, Rory. So up here at the very top, when we create the new interface name, we want to come in here and we want to say, we want to make a call in here. I'm just going to put a to do here. /t gives me to do. Use this. Okay? I'll fix that afterwards. Okay? So get unique name inside scope. So actually, I would almost think this is also possible. Note to devs. Note to devs. Let's put inside CodeRush.source. So it's discoverable. Okay, so that goes to you, Alex, and let's make that change so we can make that more discoverable. Okay, so let's do the preview hinting. So let's go over here and prepare preview. We're going to set a breakpoint there. I'm going to clear this breakpoint here, run, and okay, let's undo. That part's all good. Let's do the prepare preview part. So I could have just hit escape actually to get back over there. And so prepare preview one more time. Bring this up. Now we're pausing. And now we've got this big piece of crap in the middle of the screen. I'm sorry, this big beautiful menu in the middle of the screen. So what do we have? It's called a get param. And we pass in the language element. So we say EA dot, where's my element? That is what it's called. There it is. Pass that in. Whoops, not add parameter. Sorry. That's gonna, I want to do declare local. That's what I want. Here's my param. Get out there, and then I want to come in here and where the heck was I getting on that type declaration program? Where was it? It's called get declaration code. Here, this is the piece I need right here. come down here, paste that in there. So now I've got the parameter type declaration, and then we want to do something along these lines. We're going to go into EA.add strike through. So we're going to strike through the old parameter type declaration, and actually not param. Let's go to param, and I think we've got the type range we can work with over here. Oops, it was already selected on screen. Type range. So that's the range we want to strike through. And then we want to go in and call EA.add code preview, and we'll come in here again and we'll say param.type range .start. Apologize for this in the middle of the screen. I know it makes it harder to follow. And then we'll pass in I plus what is it?
Param.type name?
No, I was. Oh yeah, param.param type.
Param type. Sorry, that was it.
That will work. Sure, I'll take it. And I think that's it for the preview hint. So let's look at this. Run it one more time. Bring up the preview hint. And that's what it looks like.
There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful. So
the last thing that we have to do, well, actually there's two things we have to do. What happens if we have, hold on a second. Let's drill into car for a second. And let's, oh here, public field. Perfect. I was already anticipating this. If car.public field, not null, then return. Okay, so now we have a public field in here. So what we need to do is we need to filter that out and say, you know what, that's not okay, because this is actually going to get us, we'll be able to find the declaration of this, just like we can find the declaration for all these other pieces. So what will happen is we'll get something that, in fact, if we do it now, you should see that it actually gets us on the run, and there's the public field. This, of course, won't compile. If I go in and try and build this now, we're going to say, sorry, we've got two problems. One is the accessibility of iCar. Oh, interesting. Oh, I forgot about that, too. So this accessibility over here is internal because I didn't put public on it. I need to make it the same accessibility of car itself. So we need to fix that, and we have interface cannot contain fields, and we're going to have a problem with doors as well once we get this thing public. In fact, if I come in here and I say public on this, and we say build, interface cannot contain fields, okay, fine. Let's just comment this out for now and go back to this, comment this out. Now if we build doors is problematic because it's internal, okay? So those are the problems. Let me undo, 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 yes. And now let's go back and fix that. So we have to fix visibility. That's one of the pieces. Let's do that. That should be easy to fix. All right, here we go. Replace with interface. And so visibility, that's going to be on the interface itself, and we need that before we generate code. Where is our code generation? There it is right here. It's down here on Element Builder. So we have, oh shoot, I did it again. We're going to have to kill the that other instance of Visual Studio. So let's get the one with the least amount of memory. There it is right there. And I'm going to hit end process on it. And then let's wait for the waiting. All right, there we go. Okay, so all right, so we're going to have to run it one more time. I guess we can write the code. Well, I'll just run it. We'll run it. We'll write the code and edit and continue mode. Yeah, it does, Rory, seem to be related to Alt-Tab and a very quick, you know, Windows message coming into the new instance of Visual Studio. You know, it's something I've only seen recently on my machine. Something has happened to my machine in the last like 4 weeks, I think. So anyway, and we're seeing a couple side effects of that, it appears. Maybe time to repave it. I just installed, by the way, I just installed Visual Studio 11 and Windows 8 Developer Preview on a virtual hard drive on this machine. So I just took away like 60 gigabytes of hard disk space, leaving me with about 30 free. Okay, so here's the test project. We open that up. All right, let's go over into show. Here we go. Replace with interface. All right. Great, now we have two of these artifacts over here. So what we want to do, we want to get our interface, which I forget what it's called. There it is, new interface. We want to say new interface.visibility equals declaration.visibility. And if we look at this right now, we hover over it, oh, it says it's illegal because it hasn't been set yet. That's public. So that's going to fix that one problem. So when we generate code, we'll get the word public in front of it. That's one of them. The other one that I wanted to do is in the availability check. I wanted to check for, where's availability? Here it is right here. I want to get that same call to find all references, which is here on parameter. I basically want to do something like this. And I want also this. And let's see if the clipboard history is going to save us here. Nope, looks like the clipboard history not, because the other instance killed the other instance. So we'll come in here and we'll at least do that, and we'll get that in there. So we have method is equal to param.depend method. If it's null, then return. Then we're going to do this find all references, all references, and then we're going to go do for each I element in the references. We're now going to go through. We need to check if that element is a variable or not. So we're going to say something like this. We need to say, well, we need to go in, and it's the same thing we did before, when we went to the parent, and then we went to the parent and got its declaration. So we'll look here, and we'll say, if it's null, then we're going to continue. Otherwise, we're going to go to the parent, get declaration, like that, and we'll go in here and call this parent declaration, like this. And now that we have the parent declaration, we'll do the same kind of thing. If it's null, then we're going to continue, and then we're going to check to see if parent declaration dot element type, right there, is equal to a language element type dot variable, or, and this is just how we're filtering here, because the element type is a quick way to find out what it is, or it's equal to initialized variable, which is, I'm not seeing, oh, it's down here, that's my initialized variable. Then we want to continue. We're not available, okay, if we're referencing any variable. So that'll fix that availability issue. Okay. One other thing, though, is we can also do something here, too, as well. We can come up here, we can set a variable, create a new Boolean variable, need to promote visibility, or maybe member visibility. Okay? We'll set that equal to false for now. Then what we can do is we can now check all of these parent declarations, and we can say, we can do something like this. We can get that parent declaration, and we can say, let's take that as an I member element, like this. Declare local for that. And now we can check to see, we say do this. We say if that's not null, then if that got its visibility is not equal to member visibility dot public, okay, then we can say need to promote member visibility is equal to true. Okay, and then, so this is all in the get availability check. Oops, what's going on here? What is my problem here? Apparently nothing at this point. All right, so now we can come down here and we can say, well, still, you know, I think that these, we should move these up before we do the find, before we do the for each, like this. Okay, and so now we can come down here and we can say, if we need, I think you're going to like this trick right here, then we can come down here and we say EA dot, watch this, menu caption equals, we say replace with interface and promote member visibility, right? So we can explicitly say that we're going to do something different. Else, the menu caption is equal to just simply replace with interface, like that. And we're still available no matter what. We're now changing the caption dynamically. And so let's run it. and just test that.
One little thing we might want to deal with, we've got to point it out in the chat room here. If we are dealing with a variable or an initialized variable, we need to return out to cancel, as it were, rather than continue.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, the code may have been not correct in there. Here's the loop. Here's the loop. You're right. That's the point we need to return out. Absolutely. So let's set a breakpoint here, and then come back over here. So we're in the availability check. Then we want to say return. Beautiful. Thank you. I love it when this happens. Okay. So we're running. So now we're not available. See it? Come down here, comment this out, hit escape, hit the key, and now we're totally available. See how fast that was? Yeah. I don't know if you see it or not, but I hit escape, I hit the key immediately. CodeRush had already reparsed the method, and now we know, and then our availability check was run. We parsed the method, we found all of the references, and we found that one of them, I think it was doors, was internal. Let's change it back to public, hit escape to come back up here, hit the key, and now we have simply replaced with interface. Exciting?
Very good.
Okay, so the last thing we need to do is actually implement it. So let's change that to internal again. I like this one, this session. I know we're going like almost 2 hours, but it's like it's feeling good to me in terms of what we're doing. All right, replace with interface. We're over here. Ignore the artifacts. My apologies for those. Larger monitor or dual monitors is good. So now we have to go in, and we kind of need code to be similar to what we already wrote here. We need this, something that looks like this, where we're going to go through each reference that we found, and we're going to promote its visibility. But actually, you know what? I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to, because we already found, remember we have members found, right? So members found is unique. So what we're going to do here is, I think we can just put it in here. If the element got visibility, not going to work, so we're going to do this instead. Element as IMember element, just like we had before. So if not null, if dot visibility is not equal to member visibility dot public, then we want to call, I think it's in CodeRush.source, please be in there. What is it, member visibility? What is it? I hate this. Change visibility. Change the visibility, and interesting. Is that the one I want? I'm not sure, but the thing is I'm not remembering if it's here or somewhere else. It takes an access specified element. So what I can do is I can typecast this to an access specified element if I want to do that, and that will help me. Let me just, I just want to double check on my notes right here. Yeah, I am in fact doing that, and so yeah, so it goes like this instead. It goes this as an access specified element instead. Now at this point, have we opened the document or not? This is where we open it. So we actually want to do this part down underneath after it's open. So I'm just going to copy this to clipboard. Apologize for the temporary mess, and we'll fix this down here. So let's get rid of that. Here's the activation. Oh wait, no wait. Yeah, that's right, because we're changing it in this file. Okay, so we've now activated, and now we're good to make those changes. Let's actually do this. Actually, we'll do it after we bind the code. Actually, this is unlikely to make any changes. But now we're going to go iterate again through the memory, get rid of the cloning stuff. We don't need this. We're going to now change this to that, and we'll call this, we'll rename here and call this member. It's equal to that. If it's not null and that the visibility is not public, then we're going to call it change visibility, and we're going to pass in the new visibility, which is public. And there it is. And I think that is going to work. Cross your fingers. I want to be done. There's our car, and doors is there, and now we want to see is doors now public? It is. See it? If we undo, all these changes should go back and roll back. There, see, it went to internal. I feel like I just scored a field goal or a touchdown or some kind of goal. You got your hands up? Is my mic on? Hello? Rory? Can you really not hear me? Ah. So Rory, either your mic is off or you can't hear me. One of the two.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark,
So,
we can hear you.
so I've been making the big mic is off mistake.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I was totally responding to you, and I was like, woo!
Okay, there you go. Awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome, right?
Great. Yeah.
And I started about 15 minutes after, so it's about an hour and 30-something minutes. But I feel like we just tore through this, right? We showed a lot of things. We showed how to call refactorings remotely. We showed how to change the menu as well, right? Intelligently, right? The menu now says, the menu caption now says something different, right? We made that change. We showed how to check for fields. We found the declaration. All this very specific things. And we could do this too, right? So let's talk about, like, just in the next, like, 2 or 3 minutes, let's talk about where the next step would be on this. One, obviously, we talked about the existence of existing interfaces. If there's something already, we talked about that from the standpoint of naming collision concerns, and we also talked about it from the standpoint of what if we already have an interface that has a doors and a make and a model with the exact same signature where the types match? Could we find and use that one instead? Yes, that would be smart to do. And then the other thing that we're talking about at the very beginning was the concern about the granularity. In other words, this is a refactoring that just works for one method. So if you're passing something into one method, you have source to that method, and you want to pass an interface instead, this is perfect. But what if you're passing the same car into a bunch of other methods, and you want to just have a full-on version of that instead? And that's maybe a different refactoring, I think. That's something different. So we'll look into that, I think, in the future. But this is the start. This is part one of like I say, of at least 2 different tools that I have in mind, maybe 3, to make dependency injection easier. And again, dependency injection, what we're talking about is passing in an interface that specifies what the implementation is going to be instead of passing in an actual class and having this tight coupling between car and in this case, this class called show. Do we have any questions out there?
I know that 1 or 2 of the devs would like you to quickly have a quick look at the preview hinting code again. Some screenshotting apparently is wanting to happen.
We can do that. Preview hinting code was pretty easy. We essentially copied code from before, right here, and oh, you know what? It looks like I didn't even need this. I was thinking I was going to use this to get the range, but I didn't even need that because we've got the type range on parameter. So although I'm now just realizing something in the back of my head, and I'll show you the bug, and I won't fix it here, but I'll fix it before I send you the code. And the bug looks like this. Here. So now if we do type range and we do this, it's going to look what it does. First of all,
that's not so good.
I'm not happy, right?
No.
So, I mean, we can, but then look at what it's done here. So there's the bug. I'll fix that before I submit to you, Rory. Okay. And that's why this needs a little bit more evaluation. I'm going to create a method that gets the actual type and gets me just on this instead of the namespace, okay, in case that exists. So we'll fix that. I will fix that before I submit the code to you. And I'll do that offline. So that's, and I felt like there was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember what it was. So if you think,
well, the only other minor piece would be the explicit implementation that VB needs. It needs an implement such and such a member at the end of each actual concrete member.
And that's why you're on the DevExpress payroll, Rory, because you're going to go look at that and see what changes need to be made there. Unless you know them right off the hand, I'll give it to you.
Off the top of my head, no, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, then, if are there any other questions?
General comments of ain't that cool, but no, nothing particular.
All right, kids, if you are watching this live and or if you're watching this recorded, I would love it if you could tweet about these. If they're useful to you, if you like this, if you love CodeRush, tell people about it. That is something that is valuable to us to help spread the word. It gets more people on board on the CodeRush bandwagon. More of your peers will be using CodeRush. So if you have the ability to do a shout out to us, we would love that. Shout out, tell people about the webinars, tell them about CodeRush. That makes us happy to see those, and it makes us feel like we're doing the right thing. Thanks to everybody who were listening and stuck with us all the way to the end or listening. And as usual, I'll just say if you have any plug-in building questions, you can tweet them, put the word CodeRush in your tweets. Rory and I will see those, and we will be more than happy to respond quickly. Alex Corkin, I want to thank you as well for hanging out with us as well and for the changes that you're going to make this better for everybody. We appreciate those. With that, Amanda, I'm going to hand over to you, and we'll be done.
All right, thanks, Mark and Rory. Everybody, we have webinars currently posted through October. Check out devexpress.com/webinars for that list. And next week, you are out of town, Mark, so we aren't doing a CodeRush feature workshop, but you will be back the week following, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, next week I am just going to be in like a time zone about 11 hours different from my current one. It's going to be all topsy-turvy, and I'm going to be in meetings. It's going to be crazy. So instead, we will skip next week. I think it's highly unlikely that I'll be able to make it, and we'll do it the week after. Okay.
Okay. So October 12th, everybody, will be back. And if you want to watch this webinar or you missed anything, you can go to the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. So again, thanks to Mark and Rory. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for choosing DevExpress.